Check 1 2. Checking 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. Twitter's and 11 o'clock there. Let's go on the air. Let's do this.
Hey, gang. This is Up the Middle with your hosts on the right, the homeless conservative Blake Fisher, and on the left, the Democratic nominee for Congress in the 7th District of Ohio, Matt Deemer. And somewhere in the middle, I'm retired Secret Service Special Agent Ross Yergz. You'll come to know me as Yergz. Let's get to it.
Hey, gang. I'm here. It's just me right now. Blake is on assignment, and Matt is on his way. And they'll be here. They'll all be here soon enough. It is 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta, 1490 WWPR in Tampa Bay, and Yergz Radio. And we're also trying out some other stations, looking at Brooksville, Florida, also Sarasota, Florida, and Orlando, Florida, to add to the mix. So we'll see how that goes. Lots going on. Not really sure where you've been for the past week, but in the event that you've been under a rock, you're here. You're at the right place because we're going to get you caught up. First up, President Biden has really gained some approval this past week by taking a, tough decision. I mean, was he kind of forced out? I think so. Yeah. When people like George Clooney say, I'm going to take my money and go home, and other quote unquote prominent Democrats that I've never heard of, call him to step aside. I remember the good old days when you were down 10 points and you said, you know what, screw it. I'm going to campaign and I'm going to catch up and I'm going to kick Trump's ass. Now, I've protected Joe Biden. For those of you in Atlanta who may not have been catching us on the recorded and are now joining us live, first of all, welcome. I'll be saying that for like the next month. But welcome. Our hashtag here at Up the Middle is, besides Up the Middle, the hashtag is Take Back the Flag. For people who think that they're patriots because they tried to engage in a coup, not an insurrection, a coup, they're not patriots. And that flag belongs to all of us that actually got up every day for 21 years, 4 months, and 2 weeks, put their life on the line for not just a country that they love, but a concept that very few people seem to get. But anyway, back to Uncle Joe. I've protected him on many occasions, sat right aside of him in Reagan Airport when he was former Vice President Biden, and I was the airport agent, and he no longer had access to Air Force Two. Has he slowed down since 2017? A little. He's 81. We've got an 81-year-old president that rides a bike still. falls off the bike, gets back up. If Trump can even put his fat ass on a bike without losing the bike seat, got a mic stand to fix here, sorry. Without losing the bike seat somewhere, my camera is focusing more on my mic and not me. My mic looks great. I look foggy as hell. Whatever. Yeah, he gets back up. Biden gets back up, gets back on, has at it. The best thing Trump can do with wheels is tip a golf cart with his fat ass. And before you go calling me a liberal, there are plenty of things that I'm very conservative about. Financial responsibility. My own son and I just had that conversation yesterday. Ended peacefully and on good terms, although it was tense. But like I said, in case you lived under a rock, because of the mounting pressure, yeah, I don't think it was his desire to go into retirement, even at 81. But he's gone. I mean, he's not going. I would say he's probably at this point now a lame duck president. You know, nobody really wants to call him that, but I think realistically, you know, that's what we're looking at. And you know, I only say that out of obvious. Trying to see if. Oh, there we are. Okay. You know, just out of the obvious that Secret Service is, oh, Dan Bongino, I love you. You give me something to talk about. And of course, Benny's on the case. Oh, my. Stop everything. Forget about talking about a historic move by the 14th best president in history. Benny Johnson was back at the Trump assassination site. He's on it, man. Stay up in Pennsylvania. Stay up in rural Pennsylvania. You're loved. Tampa doesn't like you. Oh, I love how these people think they've got it all figured out. I was brilliant to come up with this career in retirement. I was at places like that. For 21 years, I was at places like that. This guy goes there for 21 minutes and think he's, you know, located the Zapruder film. Oh, it's just painful. And in what? Oh, he's live right now talking to 2.3 thousand people. Well, I guess we thought unemployment was low. I'll catch up. I got to find his phone number. Wouldn't that be cool to prank call him? Speaking of calls, prank call me. Make yourself useful. Put the number up here. It's 1-888-88 Yergz. 888-88 YERGZ. And I think I had to make sure that the system's actually turned on. That's kind of important. So Wednesday night, after making the announcement Sunday afternoon, Wednesday night, President Biden comes on national television, explains his successes, because there's plenty of them. I know the MAGAs won't tell you that. Oh, this is a disaster, because Trump wasn't. At least you said he was in 2020 when you ran against him. You said the same thing earlier this year when you ran against him. Now all of a sudden you decided to vote for him. Because that is not hypocrisy at all. Not at all. I'm just trying to check out my Rumble account. I don't know how to work this. It's so many other accounts. Can't you just... Oh, and this Matt Wallace guy is still going on the Joe Biden body double thing. Shouldn't you be looking for Kamala Harris's body double by now? I mean, just kind of thinking out loud here. There we are. Okay. So, yeah, we're live on Rumble. And switching over to YouTube, checking that out. Making sure everything's active, going well. There's that. Nice. Oh, Twitter. I refuse to call it X. I refuse to call it X until there's one on Elon Musk's forehead. Goof. Oh, why are we not looking like we're live on Twitter? Maybe I already pissed him off. Coming back to... Yeah, some Nate J. I hate when people... I don't know what the term is, but when people like say namaste to everything. First of all, it's an introduction. It's a salutation. It's actually not it's a greeting. It's not a goodbye. But yeah, anyway. Do I have on some of the oh no, that's not today. That's why that is. Trying to find out what Facebook pages are actually working. There we go. There we are. Good. So I'm actually going to shut them down because I'm not going to go checking back on them. It's slowing down my computer. So Biden has stepped out. What I really enjoyed earlier this week, I think it was yesterday, was watching Van Jones from CNN. I actually get choked up over it. I thought that was cool. People don't get choked up over Trump. He's got party mates forming political action committees to vote against him. Is that successful? Good job, Donnie. Rally those troops. I stand by what, an 8-year-old statement, Val? I stand by an 8-year-old or so statement. He never wanted to be president. Never wanted to be president. Why do I say that? Well, first of all, I will give you some privileged position information. when he pulled ahead of Hillary back in 2016, Melania got pissed off. Now, why would she get pissed off about being the first lady? Because she never wanted to be first lady. Ever. At all. Just proving. Oh, thanks, Trump, by the way. The COVID you gave me, because you didn't fight it like a real president. I have this perpetual hack. And it's not Bernie Johnson or Dan Bongino. He never wanted to be president. Back in the earlier 2000s, when he wrote one of his pamphlets, one of his publicists or advisors or whoever said, "Why don't you announce that you're going to run for president?" And Howard Stern said the same thing. Shout out to Howard. Howard said the same thing. He knew that from a source that he had. Why don't you run for president? He wasn't having it because he doesn't want it. He doesn't want to have to give up authority. He doesn't want to have to actually negotiate. He wants to bully. That's why he's running away from Mama Kamala. See, I try to make that rhyme. Mama Kamala. That we'll talk about that today too. We're here for 2 hours, people. Get your coffee. I got a coffee and a Powerade. I'm sure by one of the breaks I'll be switching to a cocktail. It is Friday. I got to put a clock up so I can keep giving the time. We are live on 2 terrestrial stations now and 2 soon to be 3 internet stations with more of each on the way. $11:17 on the East Coast. That makes it 3:17 in the UK. Shout out to everybody across the pond. We now have, that's one of the 3 internet stations, although they'll get this tomorrow because we're not live there yet, although the manager at that station's contemplating. I think they might actually like that once we go to 4 to 5 days a week. I'll tell you about that in a second too. So I got to rich my fat ass around a little bit. So Biden has put it up to the American people. I should actually be sharing this so I can go from one to the other. That one. There we go. President Biden has actually said, look, there we go. He's back. I have a computer that is specifically designed for this, and even now I'm doing so much more. I just don't think it is as robust as what we tried to make it be. Oh, well, I'm way too small on that one, but I guess I'm on radio, so it doesn't matter. Radio, social media, social audio. I'm really waiting for Chatter to get the desktop version. That's an app I really like. It's a spin-off or a result of alleged poor management at Clubhouse. Another app that I'm still fond of. Don't have quite the following there, but we're growing. But Biden said in his speech Wednesday night, it's up to you, the American people. Let me move that. Oh, I can. Look No, that's not what I wanted to move. Son of a bitch. Wanted to try to move me to the. What if we did it like that? No, that's still just as weak. Whatever. So I think we have a co-host. See, there we go.
There's Ross.
Dude. I'm sorry, you've been gone for 2 weeks. I realized I didn't. Is that like a make Congress work again hat? Let's turn this off so we can get a better view of you. There it is.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You just don't tell me things these days. So communication has never been the podcast strong point, but we're communicating with the people.
That's it. That's what I've been telling them. 21 years. Where did I see it? Oh, on Rumble. 21 years. Well, I can't show that screen anyway. 21 years I've been doing this, right? And I've been to sites like where Trump was shot at. And I'm still kind of, I hate saying this because it really doesn't matter. But I'm still kind of agreeing with the FBI director. I know enough about ballistics. I mean, I'm no like reconstructionist or ATF agent, but I've shot my share of rifles in my day. I know what an AR-15 is going to do to you. You're not going to have an ear left at something like 2,800 feet per second. I think is the speed of those bullets. And it doesn't matter. He was still injured. It was still.
Look, I think it's a weird conspiracy theory. The president was shot at. There was a breach of security. No matter what, the Secret Service failed. The local police office failed. Everybody failed in this instance. And even if there were shots fired to him, there's a failure and incompetence across the board. So if let's just say his ear didn't get hit, doesn't change the fact that he was shot at. It was an assassination attempt.
Right.
And there's a failure across all law enforcement. Let's say if his ear got hit, doesn't matter. The whole thing is still the same. So the guy must have went to the hospital, the emergency room or whatever. And so there has to be hospital reports. So if there's and there's reports, I mean, I would assume Secret Service, man, if there are shots at the president, there's probably paperwork you have to fill out.
Oh yeah.
So go get the paperwork. Get the
testimony.
Get the paperwork. Get all that stuff. Get the medical reports. Get all of that things. And then just that's what it is. So there shouldn't be any conspiracy theory here. I think it's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, Benny Johnson doesn't think so.
Who is Benny Johnson?
Benny Johnson is the Blake Fisher of the MAGA crowd. He's down here in Tampa.
Okay.
He's got a wavy haircut like Blake does.
Great. And so what does he say?
He tells everybody in his profile the usual MAGA stuff. I'm a father. I'm a dad. I'm a Christian. I'm a patriot. I believe the election in 2020 was stolen. And I support the January 6th asshats.
Mm-hmm.
That whole... He's got the Betsy Ross flag flying behind him.
So he thinks that the assassination attempt was a setup?
Oh, he was back to the site. He flew back to Pennsylvania to visit Butler, Pennsylvania, and revisit the site. As he calls it, the Trump assassination site. Like Trump is dead.
Words matter.
We got to have that clickbait on our thumbnails.
Of course. 100%.
So he's got this big arrow pointing at a water tower that's off in the distance.
Second shooter.
Oh, yeah.
Second shooter. Water
and
tower.
Trump still lived.
Well, it just shows you they're not bringing the best people over there, huh? If you can't get them at 150 yards and a water tower. Not saying that you should get them, making that clear. But I'm just saying it's just some bad shooting, man.
Well, that's why I shot down the Biden conspiracy theory right away was because he's running around saying that the economy is so much better and he can't afford a decent assassin. That doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, right. Right. Look, you see these guys that take this stuff really seriously, and I'm not even talking about like security and so on and so forth. Just shooting, and
Yeah.
how they treat their guns and how they train themselves and their bodies and their
God, yeah.
This is a meditation for people, and when they go into these situations and they make a skill and a craft out of this, you're not messing with somebody. If you're within 2 miles of somebody, you better be taking cover with some of these guys. So look, this was a kid that was obviously had mental challenges. He There's a lot of strange things about him. And you know what? I won't put past any conspiracy theories, but I don't like to dwell in conspiracy theories when we have real issues and real problems. And the real issues and the real problem that we have is there was an assassination attempt against the president. Conspiracy theories aside, even if they were there, still that's what happened. If it was set up, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. We have to figure out what happened with the Secret Service, what happened with the the law enforcement, and make sure that doesn't happen again to anybody else.
Yeah.
Move forward. If more information comes up, then you change your view. Right now, we take everything at face value because the security of former presidents, no matter who it is the
Right.
utmost importance for the United States of America.
I've not made it a secret that I'm not a Trump fan, but that doesn't mean that I think he should be even shot at, let alone actually shot and killed. Yeah, definitely not cool. Like President Biden said, at all, period.
Right.
But that was
100%.
the first story, is that he stepped aside on Sunday and addressed the nation on Wednesday. And what I was saying was actually pretty cool from it was watching Van Jones get emotional over it on CNN on Thursday. You know, to really kind of articulate the historic move that President Biden made, as much as, you know, the right knuckleheads want to say about how it was an obvious choice, pushed out, he's too old, whatever, this, that, or the other thing. Having studied presidents since I was only 18, I might know a little bit about them. That is not a decision that's ever really just been made unless they were on some level essentially forced out. I think it was Lyndon Johnson who would be one of them when he didn't seek re-election. And right. That's, you don't run for president because you're a nice guy. You don't run for president just because you want to serve your country. For $425,000 a year, you want to put up with all that?
Oh, it's 425 now? I thought it was 400 flat.
It's something like that. It's in the low fours.
Yeah.
Sound like I'm selling a condo. But yeah. So you've got a little bit of an ego. And if you are a decent enough person, then some of it is also pride. And that's okay. So making a decision like that to step aside makes you worry about being seen as a failure, which he is anything. I mean, in less than 4 years, he's been labeled by political scientists to be the number 14 president out of 46. He's not even finished his first term, and they rated him that high. That's not bad. But as a result, and as such, you know, obviously, story number 2, when he pretty much
before we go over to the story number 2, let me just comment on story number 1. So last week, as you know, I am running for U.S. Congress, and
Right.
more and more Democrats came out to, very few, but more and more were starting to come out to say, "Hey, Joe, you got to step aside." Um, Last Saturday, I think it was Senator Sherrod Brown. He's running for re-election this year, and he came out to say, "President Biden, you need to step aside. Thank you for all you've done, but you got to end your campaign." I think it was his words, "End your campaign." I came out within a couple hours, and I supported Senator Brown, and I did
To
that.
be
And I
clear,
was
he's from Ohio.
Senator Brown is from Ohio. He is my senator. He's running for re-election, and I think I was the first. I was the only congressional candidate in the first congressional Democrat congressional candidate or congressperson in Ohio to also support Sherrod Brown with this. I want to tell you that first of all, I want to say that I'm very disappointed at the Democrats at that time because of the emails that I got from them. I haven't put up here. Are we on AM radio right now?
We're on FM radio right now.
Oh, we're on FM radio right now. Perfect. So
That's
no
never
swearing,
more
no swearing. But in
Yeah.
reply to my very well written, polite email of asking Joe Biden to step down and supporting Senator Brown, we got replies of "F you back," "F you very much," no, he doesn't. You effing moron. Let me see what other ones. "No effing way, you punk. Grow a set. Eat a bag of D's." So, and so I'm very disappointed because here's the thing: is Democrats always label the MAGA Republicans to be the uncivilized ones, and that's what we got back from Democrats from a Democratic conversation that we should have about our president and who's going to be our president or our candidate elect going forward. I thought that was very disappointing, and I hope that every Democrat that's listening to this right now it should know that you should be better, act better, and communicate better, because that is something that you expect from the other side that you always label, and then that's what you put through towards your Democratic candidate over here for U.S. Congress. That's the number one thing. The second thing I want to say is people always were asking why I was supporting Senator Brown and not supporting the president. This was not a zero-sum game. I'm supporting somebody that I trusted at the time, right? Or not at the time. I trust. This is somebody I've had multiple conversations with. Somebody who's donated to my campaign. Somebody who supported and endorsed me in the last election. This is somebody that I know and I see on the campaign trail, opposed to somebody that I don't know, and also somebody who's in the Senate that has privy to information that I don't have. And finally, somebody who I know does not just make up headlines like Marjorie Taylor Greene or whoever just for the clicks on social media. So this was a measured response, something that he probably thought about really long and hard about what's happening on his campaign. And so a little bit behind the scenes to the reason why I supported Senator Brown in asking Biden to step down is for the past 2 weeks, we've made thousands of phone calls to supporters, thousands. And probably the Brown campaign made probably tens of thousands of calls to supporters around Ohio. The number one question, and I'm not talking about by a margin, by far, probably about 8 out of every 10 questions was Joe Biden questions, debate questions. What are we going to do? Is he okay? Do you support him? The fact of the matter is, instead of running our own campaigns, we were campaigning for Joe Biden. And that's not what can happen. You can't have a senator running for re-election in a state that has went 8+8 Republican running a campaign for Joe Biden. He has to be running a campaign for his own seat. I have to be running a campaign for my own seat. So it was really pretty simple of a calculus for anybody who was running a campaign at that point. So that's my perspective on that first topic.
So yeah, I remember you saying that it's. I understand that, and on a similar level, kind of also not agree with the language at all. But I understand what they're saying, and I actually addressed that before you came on. The last poll that I saw that had Biden down was 46-42. That's 88% of the vote, leaving 12 for independents, mostly Kennedy. But the independents actually came in at 17. which is 105%, which is not possible. But that's because of something called a margin of error, which we now know is at least 5 points, which is actually high. So now a 5-point swing with a 4-point difference between the two major candidates means that not only could that very easily be 42-46, but it could be higher. And it's early. And now I'm not saying that he's young enough to do something like this. I said this a year ago. 4 more years isn't going to be what kills Joe Biden. It's 4 months of campaigning is what's going to kill Joe Biden. I did that with Hillary Clinton back in the way. I did that. I was at her house at 5:30 in the morning, ready to go to the Hill to do some votes. Before by 9 o'clock, we were at Reagan Airport, hitting 5 cities a day in a private jet. To come back by 11:30, 12 o'clock at night, to be back at 5:30 in the morning again.
Yep.
And we were doing that every day.
Right. That's what you need to do at this time. This is what you need to do, and Biden was not able to do it. So, just to piggyback off what you were saying, is that's what we're looking at as candidates. And look, the margin of error is sure, whatever. But we needed. I think the proof was in the pudding. When Biden dropped, within 48 hours, Kamala raised what, $100 million plus 150 from big donors. So we got $250 million coming into a new campaign. Gen Z is making TikToks. There's energy here, and that's what was, 100%. And that's what was missing. And I think that people were saying, "Oh, well, look at the numbers, and Biden can pull it off." That's not what this is about. This is not coming from a candidate's point of view, a donor's point of view, a fundraising point of view, a campaigning point of view, and that is, we needed somebody at the top of the ticket that pulled everybody together and made that energy and had a concise message moving forward. Or else you might win the presidency, but I don't know about this House and the Senate. Right. I don't know about the state House and state Senate races that are happening around different states right now. I don't know about the Supreme Court, and I'm not talking about the Supreme Court in DC, but the Supreme Courts in every different states, or the circuit courts that, or the appellate courts, or whatever courts that are having people run right now. There's a lot of down ballot that people are not considering when it says like the top of the ticket needs to be energized. And the proof was in the pudding. Right when he dropped, we have energy and people are inspired. And if we can keep that momentum going forward, then I think we actually have a very good chance against a base that has been inspired by an assassination attempt.
Right. And that was my other point. That's actually in our next topic, is the surge that you just mentioned received by Kamala Harris. I didn't know it was 100 million. I only heard as high as 81 million, but you might have more up-to-date info. Still, within 24 hours, that's amazing. And the surge that she received by, when I say surge, I mean in polls and in fundraising, but also a surge in the support from within the Democratic community.
100%. It's 126 million in 48 hours, by the way.
Who aren't working right aside of her every day yet. And like you said, the down ballot people and the donors and the everyday donors like us that put $20 in when we can, which I don't do, by the way, because of my desire to stay impartial. But what didn't happen that happens.
I don't give money because I want to be impartial. I'm gonna give that excuse next time.
I'm gonna say flat out, who not to vote for if they're fascists like DeSantis or Trump, or the other guys that are like Ramaswamy and the other knuckleheads that are out. But what didn't happen this year is the surge that Trump should have had at the end of the Republican convention. He was still pretty much statistically tied or barely leading Joe Biden. And that's a sign. I said, with or without Biden, I strongly believe that we are going to see, I don't think it's going to be a slaughter or a big blue wave, but I think it's going to be a strong showing. And I think it's going to be a pretty solid win for the Democratic tickets. And I've always said that.
I think it's going to be a win for the Democrats. Well, look, it's still early. We don't know how everything's going to go. But let me just pull this back, because I think that we get too comfortable with this conversation of who's going to win, who's going to lose. Trump has a base that is going to show up no matter what. We have an independents that might swing one way or the other, and we're not too sure how they're going to swing. And that's honestly, with Joe Biden on the ticket, they're either going to stay home or they're going to vote for Trump.
Concern.
And now we have a new catalyst in there, especially when we have a VP. We can talk about our VP bets here in a little bit. I hope. But when we have a different VP, that's going to change the ticket as well. But I think one thing we don't talk about when we're saying like, oh, you know what, it's going to be a slaughter in 50 or 46, 44 when we're talking about polling or whatever the polls are, that doesn't matter. What matters is that 10,000 votes within that swing state, that capturing that electoral vote. It doesn't matter if we get 81 million or 100 million votes. It doesn't matter if they're in the wrong states and they don't get the electoral votes. And so I think that we are bamboozled by these polls, not because the polls are right or wrong, is because it doesn't target where we actually should be looking at. And that should be the Arizona, the Nevadas, the Wisconsins, the Georgias, and Pennsylvanias, and so on and so forth, where 10,000, 30,000 votes is the difference. And now that we have Gen Z maybe motivated, I think that we have a very big, very, very good chance of getting that electoral vote.
So that was kind of a segue into one of the other last minute additions. There we go. Having to use different browsers to. All right, well, we'll just talk about it then. I'm not going to clown around too much. One of the last minute stories that I pulled up for today that just came out was how Michigan. There we go. Michigan, in a latest poll released by Newsweek, Donald Trump gets no black votes versus Kamala Harris in a new Michigan poll. That, I think, is beyond key. Because it's probably not the only state where that's going to happen.
I call BS.
All right, why do you say that? You're not like Newsweek, or just not realistic?
You said no black votes? That is BS. I mean,
well, that's ridiculous. I think they're kind of.
If we're talking about 8% being no, sure, 10% okay, 11%, 12%. From what I saw the polling, I saw it was more like 21%, and which is still extremely lopsided to the Democrat and Kamala Harris. But I just think that's to say no black votes is honestly, I think, misleading and a bad headline, and honestly fake news. I think honestly those kind of statements are dangerous. Those are dangerous, and I say that they're dangerous.
So here's the actual number.
Mm-hmm.
Among the black voters surveyed, 82.1% supported Harris.
That makes sense. So 8%, like I said.
11.5% backed independent candidate Robert Kennedy. And I don't know, 6. It still lives, it says, and none supported Trump. Well, it still leaves 7%. This is, how can, that doesn't make any sense. Kind of sort of like the one I quoted earlier that totaled 105%. You can't have 105%.
It doesn't make sense. That's why I call it BS. First of all, there are black folks that are voting for Trump. Like it or not, you're not going to persuade them by guilting people. I think that's
a head scratcher.
Huh?
That's a head scratcher for me.
It's just not factual. And I think it's dangerous. See, here's my beef with this.
What I'm saying is the head scratcher is that black people voting for Trump at all.
Oh, sure.
He doesn't like you.
Sure, but here's why I say it's dangerous. I was just reading an article on my podcast a little bit ago, and it said that Van Eck says Bitcoin's going to go to $52 million in 2050. For and I hate those headlines.
I'll be
And even
dead
if
in
it said
2050. What do I care?
I mean, I'm still going to be around, and so buy some Bitcoin now, and maybe you'll be a multimillionaire.
I'll
The
gift it
reason
to
why
you.
the reason why I say that kind of stuff is dangerous because first of all, they're baiting. It's a fake prediction.
Right.
It's using an authority figure as like making it seem like real news. It's giving
Right.
people's hopes up to do something that might be irresponsible for their personal lives or financial situations in the hopes of something. And it's a complete made up number that is fictional that people could possibly believe because of the way it was positioned and what publication it was in. And I feel like those kind of things, and this is one of those, is makes this dangerous. Is that by saying that no black people support Trump, makes people say like, oh, okay, now we're gonna win. We have the black vote. It's no big deal. Let's just calm down. No, we are not calming down, and you can't calm down until November 6th, and the results are out.
Right.
And I just think it's dangerous.
No, I agree. I think the other thing it does is it well, like you alluded to there, it makes it presumptive. Like it's okay to stop campaigning now.
Right, right. Oh, don't worry about it. Exactly. Oh, we
Yeah.
got
And that's I think we experienced a little bit of that in 2016, and that bit the whole world in the ass.
agree.
But
Agree.
so back to the Kamala surge, though. Former Speaker McCarthy was on CNN saying that this is her high point. And he's seen her campaign for president when she was one of the first ones to drop out. She was the Democratic nominee for Attorney General and had to get whatever other support. I forget how he worded it. And I was kind of rushed at the time, so it was today, so I didn't get a chance to really look into it. But I can't agree because for the past 3 years, or the first 3 years of the Biden administration, with the exception of the first couple of months, she's been in hiding with lower approval ratings than him. Now all of a sudden she's a rock star. And the kind of attitude that she's portraying, she's speaking much better, I think. Because her public speaking was a little stuttery. But in the speech she made this week, when she talked about being a prosecutor, I hate wording it like this but I literally laughed out loud when she talked about rapists, fraudsters, cheaters. And then she gave a little bit of black attitude when she said, "Hear me when I tell you, I know Donald Trump's type." And I'm like, yeah, this is somebody that's improved greatly while in hiding. And I can't agree with McCarthy saying that yeah, and I see what you texted me in the chat too. That's actually next. The DEI statements. And yeah, I forgot about this one.
No, you can't forget about that one. Put them on the screen. I have a rant on those if you want.
Okay.
Look, so here's my thing. First of all, Kamala was not on my list of candidates back in 2020.
Me
She
neither.
wasn't.
Nope.
Biden was probably number 4 or 5 on my list of candidates in 2020. He was the top of my list in 2016. Again, he didn't run for obvious reasons. His son Bo had brain cancer and passed.
Yeah.
So he was off the ticket. Anyway, long story short is Kamala came out and she wasn't on my list. and I don't know, people don't really understand. I think that when you're running a campaign, you're fighting for resources, and you're fighting for money, you're fighting for talent, you're fighting for all kinds of stuff. I don't know who was around her campaign, and if she was polling the way she was polling and campaigning the way she was campaigning and raising the way she was raising, she didn't have the best people. She didn't have that was going to Biden, that was going to Warren, that was going to Klobuchar, that was going to many different people way before an attorney general from California, right? That popped out of nowhere. So now she has the best people, and she also has 4 years of experience in the White House. And she definitely didn't disappear. More than likely, she was conducting a lot of business in the back end. There is a conspiracy theory that a lot of the operations was passed down to Harris because Biden was just not capable or didn't want to. Don't know, don't care.
Right.
Long story short is this is a new campaign and somebody else who's running. Let's talk about her record. Let's talk about what she did as a DA, the Attorney General, or the a senator, and so on and so forth. But what we do not do, and this is what you have up here, is we are starting to see racist and misogynist language coming out, and I think it's absolutely this, and even Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, came out and told the Republicans, was like, guys, you can't do this. This is not good for us, and it's honestly unethical. They're calling her the original Hawk 2 girl, right?
Yeah, I heard that.
First, and that's and then they also call her a DEI hire, which let's break this down to what that means. You're a person of color, or you're black, or you're a slut, right? So that's what they're basically saying here,
Yeah.
by this covert racism and covert misogyny.
Ultimately, that you were given the job without really qualifying for it.
Exactly. You don't qualify it, even though you were a senator. You were, all these different things. You went to law school. You elevated your career. It's because you're black, or it's because you're the original Hawk 2 girl. That is absolutely. And I hope people understand that when they see this isn't fun. This isn't whatever. Call that out, and let's talk about the policies. Let's talk about the people. Let's talk about the positions that they made, the votes that they made, and the job that they did. And if you don't like her, that's fine. But by saying that you're a DEI hire is basically covert racism. By saying that she's the original Hawk 2 girl, there is nobody that would say, hey, well, maybe not Ross, but Ross, Matt, you slept with all kinds of women to get your job, and then think that as a bad thing. And yeah, I had to take you out of that one, man.
Yeah, an example.
But you know what I'm saying? It's like that conversation doesn't happen, and so they're just basically saying, and I want people to understand what they're saying and poke it through, like that is racism and misogyny. And the other thing is, and one thing that I really feel passionate about through this whole election is that another covert racist statement, and it really upsets me, is because she is Indian Jamaican. So people are saying that she's going to be the first black woman president, and so on and so forth. And they did the same thing with Obama. And every time they said it's the first black president, they always said, "Oh yeah, but he's half white." Or and you know what they're going to say with her is she's not black, she's Jamaican. The hell does that mean? Or she's not black, she's Indian. Or she's not black, that is also covert racism.
Yeah, how about she's qualified?
I can promise you that Kamala Harris, when she's playing on the playground or she was over her friend's house, nobody called her the white girl.
Yeah.
Nobody said, she was always classified as that other person, right? And so, first of all, let her define herself. Second of all, please don't just use those, but she is an Indian, or but she is a Jamaican, but she is not this or that. Or if somebody calls her Jamaican, like, oh, but she's also, that is literally just taking away from her identity, and which is also something that is complex and personal, something I know quite a bit about myself. And I think that's just also racist statements from Grandpa at the Thanksgiving table.
I'm trying to find something else that I've seen in a bunch of different like profile pictures on Facebook and such. and it reads something along the lines of, imagine if Kamala Harris was married 3 times, cheated on all 3 of her husbands.
No, yeah, and had 5 kids with them.
Yeah, exactly. You know, and how she would be treated as a result. I'm like, yeah, it's kind of playing the same card we just talked about, but it's also a fair statement.
It's a very fair statement, and honestly, that's why being a woman is hard. It's like it's damned if you do, damned if you don't. If you
Right.
do have a couple baby daddy and a couple kids, then all of a sudden you're non-qualified. And if you don't, you have a vice president candidate calling you a cat lady.
Right.
And it's like I don't know. It's like you can't. The only perfect thing is that if you're married to a man with a couple kids and you stay at home, cook dinner, and shut the hell up. That's the only acceptable woman that's out there.
Oh, sorry.
For some of these people, let me put that in there for these people.
Yeah.
We know what we're talking about, but that can be clipped very nicely to make me sound like a jackass.
Oh, I thanked Trump earlier for giving me COVID cough.
Oh, were you giving him kisses?
No, I mean just having had COVID 3 times.
Oh.
You know, I've had a cough ever since.
I'm just getting over getting sick myself. I got sick from being on a plane again. Probably was COVID. I tested myself. It came up negative, but
yeah, it was GOP rep. At least one of them was GOP rep Tim Burkett of Tennessee. Was the one that made the DEI comment. I don't know who was the guest that made the Hawktua girl comment. I'm getting lost now. Hold on a second.
Who was the person that made the Hawk2 comment? I don't know. I sent you the whatchamacallit.
Yeah.
I don't think it's really that important, to be honest with you.
Yeah. And it's 11:57. If you're in Atlanta, you're going to be losing us in 3 minutes. Hop over to 1490.
It was Alex Lace, by the way.
Okay.
Sorry, go ahead.
And he is who? And why is he on TV?
The Fox Business host. He's Fox Business.
I did see that clip now, actually, now that I think about it. 11:57, 99.1 WDJY. We're going to be losing you in about 2-3 minutes, less than 3 minutes. Hop over to WWPR, actually 1490, WWPR.com, or Yergz Radio, YERGZ radio.com, and join us for the second hour. We're going to be losing 1490 in another 2 minutes. Yeah. Or, excuse me, we're going to be losing 99.1 in another 2 minutes. 99, we're take a break too. 99.1 WDJY. We'll see you guys next week. Soon, I will be. I don't know if Matt or Blake are going to be joining me, but we're going to be picking up multiple days a week in Atlanta. And I'm kind of looking forward to that because it's going to help us get other terrestrial stations. So it'll be 11 a.m. starting Thursday.
Terrestrial.
We working our
not Martian.
Yeah, exactly. Earth radio or whatever, aerial radio, starting on Thursday and moving backwards till at least Tuesday, maybe even Monday. And Yergz Media, which now goes by Mastiff Media. I didn't want my name on everything. But the Yerger Group doing business as Mastiff Media.
So wait, you're calling yourself a big hairy dog now?
I had
that's
2
your
of
nickname?
Them now. Yeah. Well, that's.
I thought you were calling yourself that. Like that's your nickname.
No. That's the dog that's lying at my feet right now.
Gotcha.
But yeah, got to say goodbye to everybody at 99.1. We got less than a minute. 99.1 WDJY. We'll see you next week. And 1490 WWPR. For joining us right now. Sorry you're joining us with a commercial, but we will be back right after these words. Smell nasty? Do you want to freshen it up a little bit? Go to aromabypeter.com. Check out all of Peter's candles. It's what we burn here in Studio Yergz. I'm burning right now leather scented candle. That's right, leather scented. So go to aromabypeter.com/Yergz and check out his candles today.
I'm Jane Stahl, retired English teacher, and with my BFF, Susan Bebeck, we manage Studio B Fine Art Gallery in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. We showcase the art of hundreds of local artists, publish books of the poetry, prose, and art of local writers, offer classes, art parties, workshops, discussion groups, cater dinners. We've even hosted a wedding. And we're here to be the go-to place for friendship, learning, and fun in our community. Virtual tours of our exhibits are available right here on Yergz Radio. Let us introduce you to some amazing art and artists.
Check out Jane Stahl and everyone at Studio B in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. Please visit our YouTube channel, Talk TV 24. How's your website doing? I'll tell you how mine's doing. It's awesome. Yergz.com is gotta be the best website for anybody in podcasting or any sort of broadcast solo journalist like me. How did I get that? Limit Break Digital. Limit Break Digital did my website with Yergz.com. They did YergerGroup.com. They take care of my marketing, my branding, and help me get the message out to you. Go to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergz for 10% off your next project. That's a $3,000 site, Yergz.com. And you can get 10% off that by just going to limitbreakdigital.com/Yergz today. Talk to Jay. That's my guy. We all got a guy, and Jay's mine. limitbreakdigital.com. Hey gang, it's Yergz. Right now, our country is about to embark on yet another controversial presidential election. I have an actual question, legitimate question, as a political scientist and historian by education. If you are a Trump supporter, I want to hear from you. I want to know what your appeal to Donald Trump is at this time. Please email me news, N-E-W-Z, at yergz.com. News, N-E-W-Z, at yergz.com. Thanks. Participants must be willing to provide their contact information, answer a series of questions, and then have their first name broadcast over the radio and social media relevant to Up the Middle. Do you have a podcast? Of course you do. It's probably one of the reasons why you listen to us. Well, I got something for you. Flowsend.ai. All you do is take your pre-recorded data, click, drag, and drop right into the inbox for Flowsend AI. Click a button, and out comes everything that you're going to need. From the transcript to content such as keywords, titles for your episode, the timeline, posts for LinkedIn, posts for Twitter, Instagram, other smaller platforms, all the things that it takes you hours to do in literally minutes. So go to flowsend.ai. Tell them Yergz sent you and get your subscription today. Worth every penny. Flowsend.ai. All right, gang, you're looking at me with a headset barely on my head. I'm trying to make sure that we're actually doing well in 1490.
So are we on AM radio now?
Now we're on AM. Yep.
Well, look at us.
Yep. Now I'm making a switch.
Look at us. All right, great. Hi, everyone. It's on AM radio. And where are we?
Welcome,
Atlanta?
1490. Yep. Tampa Bay.
Tampa?
1490 WWPR. Hopefully we got some people joining us from 99.1 who does our first hour. Where'd we leave off?
Where did we leave off? Did they hear our first hour?
1490. Well, folks there may have, if they joined us through 99.1 or Yergz Radio.
That's great. So where did we leave off at?
Well, one of the things that I wanted to goof on you a little bit about why, and only you because you're here today. Blake's not, but I'll hit him up too. We got in a discussion a couple of weeks ago. When you place a vote for somebody like this, who are you electing?
What are you talking about? When you place a vote for who?
Biden or Trump?
Okay.
Or are you just electing them? Also, are you electing their administration? And I was of the opinion that you're electing the administration that they are eventually going to pick. And you and Blake both disagreed with that.
Very much so.
And Mayor Pete does not. Some other talking heads, and I don't remember who because I was too busy dancing up and down because they made me write to take better note of who it was. But I just think that, I mean, if we're bitching about Merrick Garland, if we're bitching about Pete Buttigieg or anybody in the Biden administration, aren't we really blaming Biden? Or same thing during the Trump administration when he blamed the people who he told us were the best of the best. We elected then the best of the best. And if we didn't get it, that's their fault, but it's also his. You don't think so?
Yeah, but the buck stops with the president. That's where we're electing the president to do that recruitment and that hiring. And he takes off his headphones. He didn't hear anything I said.
Yeah, I did. You said the buck stops with the president, but I think I'm going to have to put my hair up in a man bun or something every show.
Look. Here's the thing.
Or hire a producer to check to make sure everything else is actually live like it's supposed to be.
Here's the thing. I think that's a new argument and a stupid argument, because we're electing president. Not one time did we say, oh, the people that they might, and then if we are saying the people that they might hire, then we have to start getting that list ahead of time. Give us the list of the people you're going to hire then, and then we can vet those with you as voting for you as president. But we don't get those lists. Second of all, it's not a priority for people because honestly, not many people know a quarter of who's in the cabinet. That's the second. That's the other thing.
I agree.
So it's like, so if we're going to use that argument, and if you are somebody that can name a quarter of the cabinet, which I think a lot of people in politics can't do, then you are the elite of knowing what the hell is going on. Most people can't.
Did I get what percentage did I get 3 weeks ago?
I don't know. You can name them right now. I have the list in front of my face.
Pete Buttigieg.
Okay.
Merrick Garland's the AG.
Okay.
Kamala Harris is the vice president. That's technically
that's a given. It shouldn't even be on there, but okay, give it to you.
I did have a third. I had Anthony Blinken is the Secretary of State. Alejandro Mayorkas is the Secretary.
Good job. Very, very nice. Very nice. All right. We're at 33%.
Yeah.
Well, there's one more that's very obvious that you got last time that you didn't get this time.
I got Merrick Garland.
Yeah.
CAG.
I counted that. There's one more that's very obvious.
Secretary of State Blinken. Treasury is Janet Yellen.
Yeah, that's who you got last time that you didn't get this time. All right, so you're betting almost 40%, around 38%, which is damn good.
Yeah. Yeah.
I dare somebody to go up more than that. And honestly, you haven't heard of half of these people. The only other person would be Secretary of Commerce that I know of, Gina Raimondo. Sorry. And that's pretty much it, to be honest with you, for me as well.
Yeah.
And look, let's just cut the BS. You say we're hiding the cabinet. Huh?
I think you'll be hard pressed. You'll be hard pressed to find somebody to name the other positions, the actual departments in the cabinet.
Let alone 100%. 100%. Absolutely. The only other one that I would probably have is the HUD secretary, but it used to be from Ohio, but she retired. Anyway, long story short is look, I think it's just it's a bad excuse. I think it's a new talking point that's trying to stick, but it doesn't stick. And the reason why they were doing that is because they tried to use that because Biden was not front and center, and they were saying, but all these other people are there, so they got your back. It was an absolute fail of messaging, in my opinion, and it was complete BS. With that said, is if you want to go back to the Trump cabinet, there are a lot of people that you said that but you'll be hiring Trump's people. Well, let me say this. A lot of these people that they said were Trump people came out against Trump at the end of the day. And they're like, hey, you know what? This shit went off the rails. I can't support this. I don't want to be involved with this. And I got to stand up for, the greater good, the United States, the Constitution. And so you have a lot of people that were in his cabinet that came out and said, hey, I'm not feeling this. So maybe there is a good point for that. Maybe that is a check and balance on Donald Trump. I don't think he'll make that same mistake again, though.
Right. Yeah. What I don't understand is when somebody like Bill Barr says all the things that are legitimate. I think he should have been saying that about Trump. I think Mike Milley should have been stepping up and saying he's dangerous and is a wannabe dictator. Then don't go around and say some party happy thing like Biden is the bigger threat to national security or democracy. He's not. Because if you're going to go with the Democratic Party has been lying to us this whole time by saying he was capable and hiding him when he wasn't, things are fine. We are respected on a global stage. So apparently those puppets that are puppet masters that are pulling the strings that was hiding this all along are doing a good job.
Ha.
So how is that a threat to democracy? Just because you want to try to save face with your party and still tell people that you're going to vote for a felon.
Right. Right. It's literally this manipulating talking points in the media and people's emotions, and I think it's just it's what they do. It's what I know it's how you run campaigns, and it's nothing new, in the history of America, the 248 years. But I also think that we have to call out the bullshit. Just because you're saying it doesn't make it true, and it doesn't matter if it's your party or not. And that was just complete bullshit. I'm sorry, complete BS talking points that shouldn't stick. It shouldn't stick, and I'm happy that it's going to die.
Yeah, well, because that's my next question. His senility, his age, his whatever was what was the bigger threat to democracy. Now
for Biden, you mean, or for both of them?
According to Bill Barr and some of these people, Nikki Haley, who have gone back on there, I'm not going to ever vote for Trump. And yeah, that's it. Put those Deemer signs in the background.
Yeah, I have another thing that I'm doing in a little bit after this show, so I'm just
No, but
seeing how this looks.
make sure in the that's for your the next gig.
Yeah, that's for the next. That's for this gig too. So we're putting it up here now.
Yeah,
Let's take this
yeah,
bag
right.
out of here. And what you were saying?
I got distracted. You should still see the bag.
We'll move the camera later.
Yeah. All right. With Biden out of the picture now, and Kamala being the presumptive nominee, who, by the way, also this week, in a very short span of time, confirmed enough Democrats to win that nomination, enough Democratic delegates to win that nomination.
Mm-hmm.
Is she still a bigger threat to democracy, Bill Barr? Or can you come back and support anybody that's going to keep the actual threat to democracy out of office?
What do you mean? You think she can come back and win the election?
No, what I'm saying is Bill Barr was one who said Trump is a threat, Trump is bad, we can't have Trump, blah, blah, blah. And now within recent months has backtracked on that and backpedaled and said that he's still going to vote Republican and that the bigger threat is Joe Biden. Okay, let's pretend that's how you really feel. Joe Biden's not in anymore. Now what? Who are you going to vote for now, Bill Barr?
Yeah, I understand what you're saying there, but look, there's a lot of people that wanted Biden to drop, and they said that they'll still hold their nose and vote for Biden. And so, look, he's a Republican. I don't think that I don't think that he's being hypocritical, to be honest with you. I think that it's just party politics, and at the end of the day, it's like if you don't
hypocritical.
I mean, okay, fine. You're right. It is hypocritical. It is hypocritical, but it is not unsuspected. It's just how it works. I mean, you do, like I said, there's plenty of Democrats that came out that said, like, Biden isn't capable. Biden needs to drop. Who's even running the country anymore? And then it's like, well, you're going to vote for Trump or RFK Jr. or Marianne Williamson or, well, she's out because she lost the primary, or Cornel West. They're like, no, hell no, I'm going to vote for Biden. But so it's like,
I said that.
Oh, well, then you said that. Great. Then
but
it's the same thing.
But I'm not holding my nose to vote for Biden because he's still, like I said, got enough people with him that are very knowledgeable, already have 4 years of experience. Maybe the usual standard is that Blinken will step down because he's burnt out from travel. You know, Obama had both Hillary and Kerry. I forget who, but Bush had two as well. Colin Powell was one. And I'm brain farting, but I think there was some other senator where his secretaries of state. Because that's a long position. That's a long 8 years for that position. But
yeah.
You got to admit, hypocrisy like that is probably one of the biggest bitches that voters have.
Well, I think that just comes down to party politics. I mean, it's party over country or party over conversation or party over democracy, and that's what we see. You know, speaking of that, I do want to say my one gripe about this whole process is that we should be cautious of how this process unfolded. When it comes to Kamala Harris being the new candidate for the Democratic Party, there's been a lot of people talking. Go ahead, Ross. I know you have something to say.
No, I was just putting a cap on my bottle.
No, so there's a lot of people calling for Biden to drop out. a long time. We wanted to have a primary. We had a primary. 14 million people did vote. Now let's go back to just be honest. Was there really a vote for Biden in the primary? There was really no choice. RFK Jr. was either moved out or pushed out of the primary. Not saying that he's would have been the best, but at least there had been choice there. Marianne Williamson was always called a cuckoo cat lady as well. Charmin, and she was basically humiliated. So she wasn't considered a candidate. Dean Phillips came out and ran, and they shut him down. Cornel West didn't have a place to go because the Democratic Party wouldn't run him either. And I'm not saying any of these are good candidates.
People know that.
Let's just say, but they're not. No, let's just not say that any of them are good candidates or people I would vote for. But what I would say is that the process was just to Joe Biden. Now, again, he's the president of the United States, the head of the party. So it's obvious that the Democratic Party would run the president of the United States. It's obvious. But again, let's just call it what it is. It wasn't a democratic process. It was, we're just running this guy and that's it, and pushing everybody else aside.
I don't agree. Well, first of all, that's Blake's choice selection process. Is a bunch of old guys get together in a old room with wood paneling and bourbon and cigars and just decide who it's going to be. But isn't that something going into it? In 2008, we kind of presumed Barack Obama was going to run for re-election.
I mean, in 12, yeah.
No, in 2008.
I mean, that was his first term, though. You said re-election in 2012.
Yes, exactly my point. No president, every first-term president wants one thing.
That's why I gave the caveat at the end. It's like we know that, and we know we're going to support. Yeah.
I'm saying it's still democratic, still part of a democratic process, because any remotely intelligent or experienced voter going into that first-term election needs to know it's probably going to be a choice in 4 more years too.
No, so I guess first of all, Obama didn't have any challenges in 12, but Biden did, and people are coming out and saying like, look, I think 1 term is what we can get out of Biden. We got all the juice out of this lemon, or this orange or whatever. We squeezed the juice out of it.
Trump's the one that's orange.
Yeah, or fine. Biden's what? A lemon then? I don't know. A kumquat. That's a weird fruit to pick. Anyway, but you know what I'm saying. We got the juice out of it, and so people did come up and say, "Hey."
To that point, Obama didn't have any contenders in 12.
But that's what I'm saying. There were contenders for this last primary, and they were basically pushed aside. And so it's like, okay, fine, we'll give it to Biden again. But then we come to this point where he's like, you know what? I hear you. I can't run again. And it's pretty obvious you can't run again. Oh, and now now all of that was washed away. And we say, okay, this is our person. That is a slippery, it's not even a slippery slope. It is something that we should be very cautious of what the process is of the president of the United States. We have literally picked somebody who, again, we had just admitted in our last show, wasn't even on our list of the top 5 back in 2020.
Yeah.
So what changed, right? And it's not like we get a vote. And the delegates, people say, oh, but the delegates are voting. The delegates are pledged to somebody before they even go to the thing. It's not like they go there and they talk about it and they go, hey, yeah, let me get 5 votes for Biden over there and 3 votes for somebody else over there. No, they go in there voting for Biden. It's not like there's a choice. And even before you become a delegate, you have to write down and say that you are voting for this person, or else they don't even choose you. And so don't tell me that there's a democratic process, even though it is legal, it is a process, whatever. Don't tell me that there's an actual choice of the people going into this. And so in Kamala's defense, she called for, I heard it was something like 10 hours one day and 10 hours the next day. All of the delegates that she could got them on the phone and asked for their vote. And because I don't think Biden should just carte blanche transfer the vote of the delegates. But so I'm going to give her the her flowers there, saying like, hey, you did do the work, but don't tell me that it was a democratic process.
Well, so we don't have a democracy. We've got a constitutional republic. a representative.
Oh, Jesus. I come on, guys. Can we stop that? That literally sounds like the MAGA talking point. It's like, hey, it's a republic. Yes, no, it's a form of democracy. It is a form of
Yes,
democracy.
but it
It
is a
is a
form
form
of
of democracy.
democracy, and this process is a part of that form of democracy. I
Yes,
see your
Ross.
slippery slope part.
Yes. The most exhausting statement in the history of politics. It's not a democracy, it's a republic.
If you can keep it, and
It's
right
a
now, struggle.
republic. The most exhausting talking point in all of politics, in my opinion.
No, I think anything trying to convince a MAGA supporter that they're the right team makes me want to take a nap. But that's my whole point about when you elect a president and vice president, is that you are electing them and the cabinet that they put into place and the decisions that they make in the future. 60 as of yesterday, or I forget the date. It wasn't yesterday. It was before that. 65% of Democrats polled were for Biden stepping aside.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So in that case, what's the problem?
There's no problem. He stepped aside.
But when you're saying it's not part of a democratic process, that it's a slippery slope going right to Kamala Harris, they knew that was the option.
No, they did, because there's open there is another primary. You can organize another primary. You can also make sure it's an open convention. But it's not. It's not. And I'm not saying that Kamala is not up for the job. I'm not saying that she's not going to do a great job campaigning. I am not saying that, and I'm very looking forward to her VP pick, because I have mine, and I want to go through this with you of who's our top picks. But what I am saying is that you took this person and you put him in the place of being the Democrat of half the country nominee for president without a vote to the people, without running a proper primary, without competition. There's no competition. We didn't see some ambitious people. Newsom backed off, Pritzker backed off, anybody else, Mark Cuban, Matthew McConaughey, whoever else you want to put on there, Taylor Swift. There is no competition to this. And I think that is I hope you agree that is not a good precedent for going forward with American democracy or republic.
When was the last time that we've had a sitting first-term president voluntarily say, you know what, I've had my fun. I'm going to, in the middle of campaigning for that second round.
Johnson, right?
But that was before he even started campaigning.
Well, then this is all unprecedented. But again, just because it's unprecedented and we are in uncharted territory doesn't mean that we shouldn't envision the model that we want it to be. I don't want to be just given the model. Don't give me something and don't call me give me poop and tell me it's a bologna sandwich.
Well, then next week when everybody's back, I'm going to moderate a debate between you and Blake.
Why does Blake thinks this is how it should be?
Blake is not for primaries at all.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
And he said he would rather sit with party members in a dark, I'm envisioning, some Washington, D.C. townhouse in the den, the second living room. That's the office of the den, on a bunch of leather sofas with wood paneling and bookshelves, a dark maple or walnut stain.
Well, that walnut sounds sick. Yeah. That walnut.
Glasses of bourbon.
Yeah.
And cigar smoke filling the room. Saying, well, I like Matt. Well, Matt's a kid. He's a newbie. We want young, but do we want that young? He's for that conversation going. And then all of a sudden they come out the next morning after pulling an all-nighter and saying, our candidate for president is the third guy that nobody even knew was in the room in the first place. That's his primary system. I'm more of the opinion, yes, we do use primaries, but instead of spreading them out over 6 months, it's all on one day. We're all campaigning for president 10 years in front of the actual election in the first place. So don't tell me we don't have plenty of time.
Right.
Make it Super Tuesday in the spring.
I agree.
Travel is no longer an issue. So everybody can stay safe. Make it the first thing of summer.
Or and if it is a more like what Blake is saying, make it a parliamentary system where the Democrats that you elect pick the person, right? And it's the elected officials, not another election that's delegates. Because first of all, a lot of people don't know that this delegate process happens. A lot of people aren't involved. Like the people aren't involved. They don't know that it's like a pledge before you even get there's a promise.
Yeah.
Hey, it's not a vote. It's not a debate. It's not a conference. It's a rah. It's a party to say for the person that they're reelected. And so like
it used to be.
It used to be. It isn't anymore.
That's when you found out who your candidate was at the results of the convention. And quick shout out to everybody joining on all our social media. If you're just joining, remember, we now start at 11 a.m. Eastern on all those same channels. But our newest one is 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta. I've been talking too much. I'm going to let you take over. 99.1 WDJY in Atlanta. They are, and my camera keeps crapping out too. Did you see that?
Nope.
Good. They're only with us for the first hour. 1490 WWPR in Tampa Bay is with us for the second one. Matt's with me today.
What up?
We're trying to figure out. Well, the usual thing we do every week is sit here and solve the world's problems. So who are your picks? Pete, first of all, let's go back to 2020.
Sure.
And with all those people that were running for president against Biden now, I said the same thing back in 2012, 2016, 2020. When there's 20 people on the stage for, primary contenders and they're trying to have some semblance of a debate with 20 people, then Biden wasn't even my 20th choice. But like I heard a comedian say, when it comes to him versus Trump, I'll strip naked, crawl over broken glass to vote against Trump. But with all those 20 or so people on stage, as a political scientist, I've said, if they had the foresight needed to be the president of the United States, they would be able to see they'll never be president of the United States. And that's kind of like an infinite loop trying to figure out how that's going to work. But I think you kind of get the point. Now we're looking for a vice presidential candidate all of a sudden. Who do you like and why?
I like Mark Kelly.
From Arizona.
Mark Kelly from Arizona. Look, I just think that he is this. How do I want to say this? I feel like he's this old school, like more of an old school politician. I don't even think he's a politician. He's just an accomplished individual that isn't an accomplished individual by being, a billionaire, right?
Right.
So I mean, and so like he was a Marine.
He's also better known for being an astronaut.
I'm sorry, the Navy. Oh, he was in the Navy. Stupid me. I'm sorry. What'd you say?
He's better known for being an astronaut.
Well, we'll get there. We'll get there. He's done a lot of things. He's done a lot of things. He was in the Navy. He was an astronaut. He's a doctor. He's married to Gabby Gifford. He is a senator. He's just a very accomplished individual, and is from just a bunch of grit. You don't get to these accomplishments by accident, right? It's not like you make a company. Look, making a successful company is not an accident either. A lot of hard work and grit goes into it, but there is a lot of luck in that as well. To be very successful. Right place, right time, knowing the right people, blah blah. When you're talking about just accomplishing in the Navy or the Air Force, I'm sorry, the in the Navy or in NASA, it's on you. They will get you out of there, and it's not the luck of the market. It's not like I'm making Prime at the right time and I have a big name on YouTube. And I fight people on TV for fun, like this is not how and then it pops off because you have a name brand. So like it just shows a lot about his character. Second of all, I'm a huge NASA fan. If he's there, I know there'll be more fun. There'll be more funding for NASA. Hopefully, let's be a spacefaring nation, civilization, and get some space hotels up there already.
Is the Space Force a real thing, or is that just something Trump was talking about?
Yeah, it's a real thing. It's a branch.
Where are they headquartered at?
What I heard, now this has been it's been a while since I talked about the Space Force, but what I heard it was actual two different branches, or a branch that already existed in the Air Force, and I think somebody else that they just merged under one banner that already kind of existed to control things that are happening in space. And to be perfectly honest with you, I really think that it was a great idea to make a Space Force, to be honest with you, because we do have satellites in space and blowing up satellites and raining hellfire down from space is a thing, right? I mean, so people think, it's because of aliens, and no, it's because China can now launch missiles into space and take out satellites and our communications and could have weapons pointed at us right now from space. I mean, yeah, it's a real thing. So
how is that different from NASA?
Well, one's military and one is for exploration.
Because isn't NASA technically a corporation? Like they're not really a government agency?
Man, I don't know. I know that they're funded by. I don't know, man. They're funded by the government, and I like that. Anyway, I like space travel. Like let's get more money for these things. I mean, but no, NASA is more of the way I see it is in science and research. If it's coming from aerospace or telescopes or James Webb or all these different things, this is coming from NASA. Elon has made some, and we can talk about Elon in a minute too with his ridiculous shit. But Elon has made some amazing leaps into rockets and rocket travel and getting that cost way down and getting people safely up to space. I think it's all amazing, and I'm really happy to have something for NASA to be in the White House.
So there on the screen is
they're technically not in the White House. Where does the vice president live again?
The vice president lives at the Naval Observatory.
Right.
And the mansion that's on the property known as the vice president's residence. But I see what's happening here. There is the patch, the logo for the Space Force. And you see that United States Space Force is across the top. Then around the bottom is Department of the Air Force.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like the Marines, which are technically part of the Navy.
Space Force is headquartered in Colorado Springs. Thanks, Eric. And so I was correct. Yeah, it was already an existing part of the Air Force that they just put under their own banner, and I think it was actually a smart choice.
Reed's joining.
Good.
Yeah, there's a funny story about that happened this week too. The director, Reed's a buddy of mine, former coworker. The director of our former agency, or my former agency, looks like he's going to outlast her because she resigned as a result of the debacle that she called testimony on Monday. So, yeah. Why did we get talking about the military? How did that even happen?
Mark Kelly and him being NASA and NASA, the Space Force, Space Force, Air Force.
I think his resume is a good selection to go up against JD Vance and his, I'm a Marine macho, who openly says that if you don't have kids, you shouldn't have as many rights. Did you hear that one?
Yeah, he said something like that, but no.
Because that makes him a good selection for vice president. Oh, what do these people think? So that's your number one is Kelly?
No, my number one and my probably only one is Kelly, to be honest with you. The only thing that he's missing, in my opinion, is a little bit of charisma.
Okay.
And so a debate between him and JD will be like watching paint dry. But again, I just really like these like John McCain sort of like politicians, where it's like a lot of grit and your own merit that got you into place of being really just excellent across the board. And I think he just exemplifies merit and excellence, and I really like to have those kind of people there. I don't know, I just really look up to people like that.
So I have no problem with Kelly, with one exception. It's not necessarily a problem if there's a solution for it. And that is that he's not up for re-election in the Senate. Is that that you're willing to risk?
Well, that's not a big deal because remember, Arizona has a Democratic governor. They're going to appoint somebody in the interim, and then they'll run for Senate in 2 years, and so they're going to be running as an incumbent as well. So I think that is a non-issue.
Okay, all right, and that's why I liked Shapiro, or I'm forgetting his name, but was it, I think, North Carolina, the governor there who's about to term out. So he's not staying there anyway.
Why am I blanking on his name?
But
is
Shapiro in Pennsylvania, that might be right. Shapiro in Pennsylvania is liked. He's also tight with Fetterman, who I think would have been another good choice. Yeah, with a little bit of rebel that he is, come to a
Roy Cooper.
Yeah, and that's North Carolina, right?
Yeah. So we have. I'm really blanking on all these people's names, and so we have Shapiro over in they're talking about over in Pennsylvania. They're talking about Bashir over in Kentucky.
I saw a graphic last night that had it down to Kelly, Cooper, and Shapiro. I don't know if it was just because that news agency liked those three, or I know what's her name, Tulsi. Who is the female pick?
Whitmer.
I'm sucking with names too.
Gretchen Whitmer.
Yeah, there we go. She already said no.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't think it's the right pick for the time right now. I think she wants to be president and run anyway.
And it's as much as they may be capable, a realistic thing that has to be considered is what a 2 female looks like and how appealing that is.
Right. Right. I mean, it is a shame that we do have to take those demographic or those kind of ideas in, and it's not just the content of who you are and merit. It is sex and race and sexual orientation and all those other things that you have to take in consideration. And just talking about that, if you talk about Trump and his pick, JD Vance, which I think is a flub. The reason why Trump picked this is he thought he had it in the bag. And I said this before, when he picks his president or vice presidential pick, it's because he feels a certain way about the election. If he picked Tim Scott, it's because he felt like he needed to bump up those numbers. If he picked up something like Elise Stefanik, it means that he was having a hard time with abortion and messaging, and he needed to pick up women. And if he picked JD Vance, it was because he felt so confident with the MAGA message and MAGA base that he didn't have to do any of that. He messed up.
Yep.
He messed up.
Do
And
you? This was a question I had when all this came about. Do you think, speaking of conversations in back rooms, that Biden and company waited until after the RNC and after the selection to make that choice, to announce that decision that perhaps they made a month and a half ago?
you know, I don't know if it's a conspiracy theory. I think it's more of a hindsight.
No, I'm not saying conspiracy theory as much as I'm saying strategy.
Yeah, I think okay, fine. If we want to say it's conspiracy theory or strategy, I would ask, like, how organized do we think that the party is as a whole? I would say that if anything, it was probably Nancy Pelosi, because they call her the shark.
Something like that, and
don't they call her the shark? And they do it because they say that she's always swimming around and she knows everything that's happening. So if anybody who's thinking about this, it was Pelosi, and it wouldn't surprise me if somebody like Pelosi called like Harris and said, "Hey, you know what? We're gonna push him out. You better get your look," because we got to understand, Harris springed into action immediately. This was a plan. I don't know if it was a plan of Biden, to be honest with you. I don't think Biden said, "Hey, Kamala, I'm going to be stepping down, so get your stuff in order." I think it's more of we're going to have to get this guy out of here because he's not leaving, and it's not looking good for us. So you get yourself ready, sort of thing. Or be able to. And she thought, "Hey, this is a time for me, politically smart," and says, "This is a time for me to snatch this up and not give anybody a chance, by raising a lot of money and going out there and being ready for it," which she was positioned to do. So kudos on her. She was ready at the drop of a dime. A dime. She was out there already running. It's absolutely phenomenal. So kudos to her. But I don't want to say that there was a plan, because I don't know I think, to be honest with you, there was moving parts and it happened the way it did. And the whole thing was, how do we get Joe out?
See, that's the part that I don't agree with. I'm going to be 53 years old in November. By the time we vote, I will be 53 years old. I see where I'm slowing down mentally, physically,
100%.
Emotionally, energy.
43 was the year I finally noticed it, man. And I was like, whoa, this is what people talk about.
Tell me that he's not noticing that at 81.
100%. 100%.
Which is why I think he had a say in it. A positive, yeah, let's do this right, say in it. Every president has an ego. Joe Biden also has humility.
I want to disagree with this because I have a couple of doctors in the family over here, and a lot of people looking at this. If there is actual cognitive decline, one thing you see that's very common is people that have been stubborn get more and more stubborn. They don't just go like, you know what, I'm rational, whatever. They don't understand what's happening to them. They're starting to lose some things. They don't understand why they're not communicating. They don't understand why people are reacting the way they are. They don't understand what's going on, and they double down on their stubbornness because they think that they're the same, and they're absolutely not. And so right. I don't think that he was like, this humility thing, or let's make this plan. It was more like, I'm sticking with it because I'm the president of the United States, and everybody is in that walnut back room going, Joe is becoming an issue. What are we going to do about it? And I think that was a discussion that was going on. And I honestly, I don't think that there was just that much strategy and that much planning. I think that some people had some ideas of how things can roll out.
Then why did he have those heels dug in right after the debate? And they started coming out of the ground gradually with interview and press avail and so on, until last weekend when he pulled the plug on everything. It wasn't a head scratcher. We knew it Friday that it was probably going to happen that weekend.
So months ago, and I think we spoke about this on the show, my theory is that people in the back room, people have been calling for Joe Biden not to run again for a long time. But I think that there was a couple things. Huh?
He kind of touched on that he
sure.
would, be once and done.
And so months ago, I think on this show, we were saying, like, I think that the tryout period for Joe was that debate. Because here's the thing. let's just call the Democratic Party leadership a boardroom, right? In a company. And what you have in the boardroom is you go, okay, you have half of the board saying this and half of the board saying that. And one guy's over there making his pitch, and the CEO's making his pitch. And the board goes, okay, this is what we're going to do. You try your thing, and if you succeed, we'll back you. And if you don't, you're fired, right? And because sometimes there's a gridlock at the board. And they made this debate, and they said, we're going to give you enough time, and you prove to us that you got this, and you can campaign. And he went out there and he didn't do it. And then he dug in his heels and he said, oh, I'm going to go do all these things. I'm going to go on BET. I'm going to go on 60 Minutes, wherever the hell he did. And he kept on failing when he thought that he was probably succeeding. And that's when that whole thing comes on. I was like, I don't understand what people are doing. And that's when I think everybody was like, okay, we have to make a point to say tough love here, Joe. I don't know. I don't think there's this big grand strategy. I think that it happened to work out the way it did, and we're applying some kind of value to it in hindsight. I just don't think that it was. I don't think that they were just like, okay, Joe, you go up there, and then you do this, and then we'll do this, and then they'll pick their VP, and then we'll go over there. I think it was probably one person saying like maybe Pelosi saying like, okay, they're gonna have their conference, and then they're gonna pick their VP. It's probably gonna be Vance. We already got word of that. Kamala, get ready. We'll see what's happening. We're going to try to get Joe out. Hopefully it's not a big deal. Hopefully it's not a stink. Because remember, he could have not done it. And then this week, we could be in a stink where the Democratic Party is really pushing against them. And you don't know what they were thinking of doing. They could have called the 25th. We don't know what when Pelosi says the easy way, the hard way, what the hard way means. What does the hard way mean? That she comes out publicly and says, Joe, you got to go? Or does they say, hey, we're going to try the 25th.
Yeah, I was wondering if that was going to come to fruition. Yeah, if that was going to be, the next option.
I mean, I don't know, man. I mean, it could have been planned. I just don't see it. I just don't see that there's that much coordination and foresight. I mean, there is, but I don't think that everybody's on the same page all the time, especially in this situation. Who knows? We have what we have now.
I'm just looking at one of my Google.
I wonder what Eric Reed thinks of this. Eric didn't jump in, but what did Eric Reed think?
I don't know. We lost some of the viewers the past couple of minutes, so he might have been.
Oh, that's because of my rant. They're like, okay, I'm done with this guy.
That story that we talked about earlier about results of a poll in Michigan, I'm seeing it's actually been covered by plenty of other outlets. So no black votes may be a bit of a stretch. And I don't know where Newsweek falls on the spectrum, but that could be a liberal Fox move thing. But there is some coverage, so we'll have to take a look next week. One of my old protectees is also in the news this week. He and the wife, well, I guess two of my protectees, have also endorsed Kamala Harris.
Who, Obama?
And that's Barack and Michelle Obama.
Who were you? You were on Michelle, right?
I was on both of them, but not as a full-time agent. I was with them when I was in the Washington field office, and when I was in the Protective Intelligence Squad, I was within arm's reach of Barack Obama 3-4 times a week because I was the guy in the crowd, or one of the guys in the crowd.
Gotcha. Yeah. So Obama came out and endorsed Kamala, and you know what? Honestly, this is why Kamala is kicking this off amazingly. You saw the video of the phone call. I mean, they just had the foresight to say, "Hey, I'm just not going to come out there with a stupid statement. I'm Barack Obama. You get a camera, you get ready. We're going to script this. We're going to make this a thing."
Yeah,
brilliant.
Yep. Do you think? Because if we're looking at telltale signs, he didn't endorse Joe. In as many words, supported him, but also supported him. There were the rumors that he was pretty vocal on Joe stepping aside. And in less than the first week, he's behind Kamala Harris. I mean, I just think that helps me come to that conclusion that that this was on a schedule.
Yeah, I think after a certain point, it became on a schedule, and everybody was working behind the scenes to make sure that they had a candidate or candidates to prop up. I mean, Kamala was the obvious choice, like it or not, but because of
And
the
Biden
fund
said that
situation,
too.
huh?
Biden said that too. You know, I can't not endorse my own vice president, who I picked to succeed me in the first place.
Right. Right.
And that's kind of another reason, you know, going back to you're electing an administration, not just a person. If we go to just the person, that is somebody you chose also as a voter.
Right. Right.
We got about 4 minutes left. What are you doing this weekend?
Parades, campaigning.
What parades are going on now?
Oh, there's like home days, festivals, and things like that.
Okay.
Yeah, so we got home days, festivals. We have cookouts. We have a couple parades. Picnics, and then tomorrow morning, there's this motorcycle event called Fuel over here. Fuel event in Boston Heights. I'm just looking it up so I get the right information really quick. But anyway, a lot of motorcycles. We're gonna ride down there. It's about an hour and a half away by motorcycle, so we're gonna pop down there tomorrow morning, and then I'll be at events all day after that.
So that's right. You're a motorcycle guy.
I don't know if I'm a motorcycle guy, but I do like to ride.
Okay, but I mean, yeah, you do have a bike.
Yes.
Very cool.
Yes.
Yeah,
so there's a bunch of guys with better bikes than me that go out on the weekends.
That's all right. You got what, a crotch rocket or cruiser?
No, I got a Honda. I got a cruiser.
Okay.
So I mean, basically, you have one Honda and a sea of Harleys riding around. Right. And the thing is I rode the Harleys and I rode the Honda. If it isn't for the brand, the Honda drives better and it's just more reliable. It just rides great. And for the price, you get a lot for that bike. A lot. Good power, good tech, good, safety features and everything. So I just like the bike. But I mean, if it's coming from looks or the brand, I mean, Harley has the brand and everybody rides Harleys, but I would get an Indian Scout. I tried it, just doesn't ride as good as the Honda. So don't know if I want to spend $12,000 on it.
Yeah. Makes sense. Makes sense. 11:58 out in Oklahoma City, where Blake is doing some branding for his own podcast, The Homeless Conservative. You can check him out there, thehomelessconservative.com. You can get Matt Deemer let's put all that stuff up. You can get Matt Deemer at dailycryptonews.net and info at deemerforcongress.com. Don't forget to check out Yergz.flowsend.ai. Definitely, I'm going to use that this afternoon. Good stuff. What did I say? Did I put Blake up there? Blake at thehomelessconservative.com. You can get us all at news, NEWZ, at Yergz, YERGZ.com. That's it, gang. We're wrapping up. We'll see you again next week. Get ready for us to be a couple days a week. I don't know who's all going to be with me. These two have lives. I don't. So I'll be increasing the radio schedule and the podcasting and whatever else. We're going to go back. We've been putting this on. What is the thing you put the episodes on? Hey, I lost your sound.
Oh, what do you mean?
When I send you the episode.
Oh, I put it on my Substack. DC
Okay.
and Daily Crypto.
Substack. We're going back to putting it on Spotify and Apple and all the actual podcast
Absolutely. Good job, sir.
Yeah, getting better with all of that. And of course, on Yergz Radio. We'll see you again next week, everybody. Thanks for joining. And,
Peace.
Peace out of here. Do I have something plugged up? Of course not.